Hey, it's Flying Go. As you remember, I'm doing my series where I go over every single tournament deck. With ones that are very similar, I might skip one or two, and this will be the first of the ones that are similar to a lot of other ones. So this is Oasis Zera. Now, actually, I guess before I do this, I should mention that I made my own Oasis deck a while back. Um, I showcased it on this channel already, so I won't go over too much, but yeah, this is it. So the idea was you you play slow, you get mana with Dune Strider on Zera, you use Death from Beyond, mana in the rough, and then Lava Golem because it benefits from the heal a lot, and then it also just kind of keeps you alive. It does a lot of damage. It used to do 10 at the time, so it was good for killing enemy mana cards. Um, at 9, it can do that, but it's not quite as good. One Quicksand because it's a useful card for anti-aggro. And then, yeah, you build up to Death from Beyond. You hit them 3 times, and then they're dead. So that was the deck. I think that's about it. Sandstorm was a card, but whatever. Not important. So anyways, let's make this again. This is not quite the same. It was a similar idea. I honestly think it's a better deck. Um, so it ran for mana, Ephemeral Garden, 2 of them, not 3, because it also wanted to run 2 exchanges. Now this is okay in this deck. You can exchange stuff like your Castle Knights, I guess. But I think the main reason was actually just to use exchange as anti Dark Deal. Like, yeah. This deck kind of doesn't need that, in my opinion. I think it can beat Dark Deal anyways, but yeah, I think that's why Exchange was run. It's good against Dark Deal, and it was already kind of predicted that people would be bringing Dark Deal. So I do think that this was just a bold tech choice. 3 barriers, good anti-aggro when your king is Zera. Especially on Oasis, you're not gonna have an easy time killing things right next to you. So barrier will help you with stuff like Bog Dweller, stuff like that. With decks that go late like this, that are kind of like control decks, you can sort of pick 2 or 3 matchups that are super strong to beat and then beat them. So Exchange beats Dark Deal, Barrier beats Bog Dweller, and those 2 decks are very common, or you expect them to be very common, and so you play them, right? Barrier loses to Swarm because they can just hit you 5 times and then your barrier's gone. Your barrier's only worth like 6 health. Maybe not 6, but you know. And then Exchange isn't worth too much. It loses to non-Dark Deal in a lot of ways. But I guess you can also exchange your Castle Knights, so it's not so bad. Um, the next card was Quicksand. He ran 2 of them. It's good against aggro. And it also, against like Dark Deal decks, they don't have that much for mana. So they're tempo-y, aggro-y anyways, but they don't have very much for mana, so they'll have a lot of 0 mana demons. So you can kill them. Um, this doesn't do very well against Bog Dweller, but like with these 3 cards, you've kind of covered most ranges here. Control-y decks you can out-tempo by exchanging a card for 40 mana. No control-y deck gets 40 mana on a turn. Plus you're getting like 16 more from being on Oasis with Zera. Barrier beats sort of mid-rangey aggro where it summons big cards really quickly and then hits you with big cards. And then Quicksand beats like regular aggro. So Running like a 2-2-3 here isn't bad because barrier is the most versatile one. I might run a 2-2-2, but I overall like this idea. Um, Wings is one. I don't mind wings. I would honestly probably rather have sludge in this deck. Sludge costs a little bit more, but wings is like good against bog dweller type decks. It bricks against stuff like Taurus Dragon, any deck with force. So like Star Eater, which I don't even think there was any Star Eater Kings. Maybe one, but yeah, probably because not many people own it. Anyways, yeah, wings can kind of brick. It's kind of fallen out of favor with the popularity of like Azrael, Taurus Dragon, I don't know, stuff like that, right? It does still do well against stuff like it's not bad against Shenlong. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. Um, it shuts down Deep Space Warrior, it shuts down Bog Dweller. So it's not bad to run. I just don't know if I would run it these days. I think Sludge is almost better because it lets you like guarantee a hit with Zera, various things like that. Anyways, I guess I'll fill out the rest of the deck pretty quickly here. Oasis, we run one. That's fine. I don't think I ran any because I just ran 3 Dune Striders, but it can be nice against like terrain decks to run an Oasis. Thing is that there's not a lot of terrain decks right now. You'll see a little bit of Swamp, but that's about it. Swamp will already change your terrain anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Um, Castle Knight, run 3. I can see it. I usually just run 2 because if you run 3 then one of them's a brick, but it is a little bit riskier. And since you have the exchanges, it's totally fine to get rid of the third one. I mean, to have a third one and then you can get rid of it. Psycho Fiend was 1, and Star Eater was 1. Which I guess we'll just call Psycho Fiend. Okay. So, wait, that's not it, right? Yeah, no. There were also 2 Taurus Dragons. Which I only own 1. Um, was this actually a 21 card deck? I guess it was. 2 Ephemeral Garden, 2 Exchange, 2 Dune Strider, 1 Oasis, 2 Quicksand, 3 Castle Knight, 2 Exchange, 2 Oasis, 1 Wings, 3 Barrier, 2 Psycho Fiend, well, 1 Psycho Fiend, 1 Star Eater, 1 Zera, 1 Taurus Dragon. Yeah, it's a 21 card deck. Okay. Well, 2 Taurus Dragons, sorry. Um, okay, so yeah, this is sort of like I expected they actually would run 3 and 3 on Taurus Dragon and Star Eater, but 2 and 2 is good. I assume they only ran Psycho Fiend because they didn't own 2 Star Eaters. Because Star Eater is kind of just a better Psycho Fiend in a lot of ways. Psycho Fiend can move, but in this kind of deck you can just put it in the middle and then it doesn't really matter. And then you've got like a simple like Force and Swing with Taurus Dragon kind of deck. Um, I like it. I don't mind it at all. I honestly think that like this deck is almost comparable to the Demon deck where you run Taurus Dragon as your king, and then you get Psycho Fiend through what's that card? Dark Deal. Um, and Demon decks are choosing not to do that. Demon decks are instead choosing to get Shadow Lurker. Partly because it's more expensive, but also because having 2 Shadow Lurkers just seems better than having 2 Psycho Fiends, I guess. So it will be interesting to see how this will work. Overall, I think this deck has a good chance of beating the first deck, and I talked about that in their matchup, but it didn't happen. So, um, for optimizations, I do see that these Psycho Fiends would become Star Eaters. It's more expensive, but it's totally worth it. You can get rid of a lot of cards in one turn. Like, you can kill mid-range cards with Star Eater in a turn or two. Taurus Dragon probably will stay. I was expecting it to be Death from Beyond. Um, if you're swinging every turn, it's an extra attack. But I don't know, like, what has health that matters. How much does Taurus Dragon do? 24. So in 2 hits, it'll be 48. So does anything have like 50 health? The only thing that doesn't die, or that, well, yeah, the only thing that dies to Death from Beyond that doesn't die to Taurus Dragon is Deep Sea Devil. Um, and then 48 plus 24 is 60, oh no, 72? Yeah, so is anything around 72? These guys will die, and this guy uh, will survive against Death from Beyond anyways. So yeah, there's literally no reason not to run Taurus Dragon. It's just as safe for Death from Beyond. Is there any higher attack? I mean, you could run. Nah, nothing is higher than Taurus. Yeah, Taurus Dragon. So yeah, I think Taurus Dragon's correct in this deck. Obviously, you'd be running two. I think I would just drop wings, but overall, I think it's a well-made deck. There's like situations where you'll drop Oasis because you would rather have a Dune Strider or something, which is another thing that you can exchange. Um, I don't think you really need mana in the rough unless you're running Oasis. So yeah, overall there's not a lot to change. I just think that they would add more Star Eaters at some point. Um, you could maybe do something with your extra Castle Knights if you wanted to like get rid of exchange and sort of like streamline it, which I don't necessarily think is good in Domain, but you could uh you could go like this kind of route where you run Oasis and mana in the rough. Something like that. But or if you need Sandstorm, which I run Sandstorm. I don't think it's necessary, but it's decent. You could use Sandstorm somewhere in here. By getting rid of like an extra Castle Knight, getting rid of maybe Quicksand type cards. Or barrier type cards, actually. Yeah, you could go down to 2 barrier. I don't necessarily think you need to have that many. So there's some changes that you can make, but overall I think it's a really solid deck and it's probably one of my favorites. Um, yeah, this series is pretty short in terms of like meta. I think this deck can be like the control deck of the meta. It's probably the fastest at getting mana. The other card that's sort of similar as a king would be Desire's Guardian, which is like safer early, but not. It's kind of complicated. You need to get mana really quickly to be able to use Desire's Guardian, but it does have its benefits. But overall, yeah, I think this is sort of the control deck of the meta. You run Zara as king, you ramp up to Star Eater and Taurus Dragon or Death from Beyond or Northern Giant, really whatever you want, right? Star Eater's pretty good. Um, my version ramps up to Raiden Red Reaper, but it also plays like Wasteland cards, so it's different. But yeah, I definitely think that there's like that is the most control you can get in a deck. Cool. Thanks for watching, and I'll do like a full meta rundown once I'm done with all these decks. See you later.